EOH rather is the largest enterprise applications provider in South Africa and one of the top performing shares on the JSE in recent years. It's grown organically and through a number of acquisitions under the leadership of its CEO Asha Bobot. It has a market cap of 7.7 billion rand, a price to earnings ratio 20.9 and a dividend yield of 1.1%. I'm assuming that Asha Bobot is one of your friends.
No, not a friend of mine, but I'm happy to say we have been involved with this one. And that's been a much more attractive...
So certainly you're not on the grumpy side of this.
Not grumpy here, although we've held it a few times in our hot stocks portfolio. We've always booked the gains after a couple of weeks or months of holding the stock. And look at that share price chart. Just look at that. I mean, it goes all the way from sort of 10
Meaning you
rand.
Shouldn't have booked the gains.
No,
you should have just held on to it.
Meaning exactly we should have just stuck with our winners, and instead of picking the flowers and watering the weeds, as one sometimes does, we should have done it the other way around.
So we're currently not in this position.
Not in this position.
That's very, very sad.
Well, I mean, having said that, it's an interesting story because, as you said there, Asha Bobot, who's the CEO, he's got about 10% of the shares of the company. He's done extremely well. They've really become the sort of go-to star performer on the local environment. And the reason is that they're not so much a hardware player as they're a software solution provider. And the core of their business is that SAP ERP solution, which is enterprise software, which all big companies use these days, as you know, for everything from procurement to stock management to accounts to the whole lot.
I just want to know one thing. Are we going to buy it at its all-time high, Paul, as you are known to do on the show on a regular basis?
Yes, look, that's certainly not a major concern for me. I'm always of the view that if something has got some following wind, it's likely to continue to enjoy that. Yes, I'll accept that, sometimes the trend is your friend until the bend at the end. But for the moment, I just think this one still looks good, still moving along. The one point to make is lots of acquisitions.
Exactly, and we're on the same page because I was about to ask you, what does that mean when you actually look through the business model and the integration of those acquisitions? Could there be a problem down the line?
Well, one of the things that Asha does well is buy companies and integrate those teams well. And the way you can tell he's doing a good job is because you never ever hear from anybody after they've been bought by EOH.
Have we seen enough time lapse from the buying of the entity into the integration for there to have been any skeletons in the closet, so to speak?
The rising share price takes care of a lot of those problems, because let's just talk about how those acquisitions normally work. What Asha does is he approaches people and he says, we'd like to buy your mid-sized IT company. We think you're worth a good fat number, and everybody gets extremely excited. Then he says to them, I want to pay you using EOH shares. The guys look at the share price and they say, what a good idea. Let's sign up, let's go. As long as it keeps rising, everybody is happy. Why? Because,
but what happens if it falls?
Well, I mean, we saw that, of course, because that's exactly what happened back in 2001, 2002, lots of script-based deals. Having said that, at the moment anyway, it continues to work. So what it does is that it delivers sequential earnings improvement every 6 months, because they're buying all these earnings in at lower price to earnings ratios.
Are you sure that this is sustainable?
Look, I mean, I guess one must always worry, and perhaps that's why we've never held this stock for a super long period, because we've always been inclined to say, well,
you're
look,
a little nervous. In and out is the strategy on this one.
I mean, sometimes as companies get bigger, this one's got a market cap of close to 8 billion rand now. They start to attract an institutional audience. They get picked up. People, foreign investors come and visit them, like them, hear the story, talk about the opportunity. So the thing develops a momentum of its own. But if we were to have a significant overall market crack, this is the kind of stock that would
you would be
potentially
fairly
be at risk.
exposed on this one if you held a big position.
Yeah, well, and that's why we probably wouldn't take an inordinately large position. It's the kind of thing which we can say will continue to do well as long as it continues to do well.
We're going to dabble in the stock, so to speak.
I think that's the message.
Hot or not on EOH?
No, I think it's still hot. It's still delivering that great earnings growth, and the market's going to continue to like it.